Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the It's Needed podcast, where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement in the community. It's your boy Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Bears United, and I am joined by the light-skinned wonder himself, Mr. Oh No, it's the Popo.
Bam, bam, bam,
What's up,
bam.
Brody? What's going on?
Oh, I can't call it, man. I can't call it. What's up with you, brother?
Oh man, I'm chilling, bro. It's been a busy work day, but we are back at it. Hey, I promise you guys, if you guys are watching this, I am working on fixing my bootleg internet, and for the first time, I will admit, my internet has been pretty bootleg. So
let's go.
Hey, Billy, give him a round of applause. Give AJ a round of applause. I knew he's been wanting that. I got the bootleg internet, y'all. I got the bootleg internet. So we're actually in the process of getting that all figured out. But man, so anyways, it's a pleasure to be back. Somebody say, hey, what's up, Ryan, AJ? What's going on, Dominic? How you doing? Thank you guys for all you guys are watching, tuning in. We really appreciate you guys. This new setup, everybody loves it. Only thing they don't love about it is my bootleg internet. So I got to get that all fixed up. But we moving on up. All right. So, but what's going on, AJ? We got Billy. It's so funny watching Billy. Anytime we do a podcast, you know, Billy's like always looking like this, like all on edge. Like, man, is it gonna work? Are we good? Are we good?
You know, I really liked when we had a camera on Billy. By the way, like that made me happy.
Billy doesn't like that though.
You know, but the people have spoken. The people want to see Billy. Like Billy won the ugly sweater contest.
I mean,
when
maybe
people track
I still don't agree with that victory, but whatever.
Maybe during the Green has to go and stuff. I don't need to be there the whole time.
What did you have for the ugly sweater contest? I can't even remember that. That's been so many.
It was just like a generic Christmas sweater.
And then, like, even he don't believe that he won. He's like, he don't even. I went all out. I had two of y'all on. Like I had both of y'all on mine. I thought that would have won for sure.
And Ryan had like Christmas lights on it.
I did.
He had battery power. He was a fire hazard.
I had a jetpack on it. I had a jetpack, all that stuff. Y'all still me. Whatever. So, anyways,
no, I'm good, brother. I'm good, man. I appreciate you asking. It's been busy. It's been chaotic. But you know, I'm blessed, brother. I'm blessed.
Ohio taking L's like always.
Oh, here we go. Now you're an LA fan. Here we go.
Ohio taking those L's. Cincinnati, Ohio taking those L's.
Here we go. Look, people, we want Billy chanting. They chanting, we want Billy.
Why do y'all love Billy so much? It's Black History Month. Y'all should love me and AJ right now.
It is Black History Month. It is Black History Month.
Let me go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I gave the people a nugget like maybe 3-4 weeks ago about planning something for a retirement home or like an old folks home. And if there's somebody listening to this that did that, I want to hear about it because we did it and it was a hit. It was a huge hit. We had a DJ. These people, these old folks was dancing circles around me. I'm still tired. Like I'm worn out. Like I was like clubbing.
In the name of love.
Yeah, it was wild.
In the name of love. Was they doing that?
It was wild, but it was a good time. There was a woman. I lied to you not. She had like a walker. And when the song came on, she legit pushed the walker and was like coming up to me. And I'm like, all right, ready, let's go.
It was like, oh, let me get some of that light skin wonder. Looking like Mr. Clean. Come on, AJ. Doing that with that teeth?
But you was going to say something about Black History Month.
Yeah. So I've got this question now twice in 2 days.
Ask
so
Billy.
I thought it might be relevant to bring it up. What is your opinion about Black History Month? I know it's kind of a broad question, but what's your take of Black History Month?
I'm not a fan of Black History Month. I think Black history is American history, and it should be treated as such. My homeboy said that during an interview that we did a couple weeks ago, and it spoke to my heart. Like I don't think we should separate it. And then even when we separated it, we was like, well, give them the short month, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so much that goes to it. Like, and when you do that, it just instills the mindset of like separation. So it's like, well, we gave them their own month. Like, we don't want our own month. We just want our history to be our history, right? Like the country's history. So, you know, although I appreciate it, right? Like I do take time to reflect on like our ancestors and like the struggles and the sacrifices that were made throughout our lineage during this month, but it should be something that's recognized year round.
Celebrate every day.
Yeah,
got it. So my answer was similar, but it was also different. So I actually I like Black History Month, but I don't think Black History Month is what it used to be. And this is what I'm getting at. So when I was younger, we always celebrated the inventors, or we celebrated, you know, a lot of trials that our ancestors overcame. Because I mean, black people, we have to be real. Black people were one of the most oppressed people in American history. Now, there were other races that were oppressed in other countries, but if we're talking about American history, black people were some of the most oppressed when it comes to oppression and slavery, things like that. So when we look back and we see what they overcame, like Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, all these people, it's inspiring, because it's like, wow, like, you know, and then to know how many people invented some of the things that we utilize every single day, like, that was cool. So as a young black kid growing up, it was inspiring for me. So on one hand, I liked Black history because it was celebrating, you know, to me, it was celebrating overcoming a lot of things that we've gone through. But what it is now, I think, is different. And this is what I'm getting at, is like, I think we've now made it more of a check the box and this woke type thing, where it's like, oh, we celebrate Black History Month because, you know, it's a, you know, we got to do it. Everybody else is doing it, so we got to do it. Like, I think we've kind of devalued the true meaning of what Black History Month really is, and people are just doing it just to kind of fit in and check this box, you know. And on everything, you know, we highlight, you know, everything, oh, support this Black business or this or that. And I just think, like, our ancestors fought to be equal, not to be superior. And that's one of the things that has always bugged me, is we want to fight superior now. We want to fight to have, instead of, you know, the white privilege, we want to fight to have Black privilege and this and that. And it's like, our ancestors really just fought to just be equals. Is my internet bugging out? I see you smiling like that.
Nah, I'm listening.
Okay.
You spitting.
But yeah, I just think that when we start talking like that, is like, it contributes to this victim mentality. Like, oh, I can't get this because I'm Black. I can't get this because I'm oppressed, and this and that. And it's like, at what point do we become overcomers? At what point do we, you know, go towards like, man, you know what? Like, despite what somebody may think about me or whatever, I'm still going to succeed. So I just think that it's Black history has evolved into more of a woke movement, as opposed to the true meaning of what it was created for and intended to do.
Yeah. And I mean, we've had this conversation before. Like, don't speak on my behalf. Like, although I appreciate some of your intent, you know, don't speak on my behalf. Don't tell me how oppressed I am and how I'm not equal and how I have to work extra hard and blah blah blah. Like, don't do that. Don't do that, because you're not going to instill that mindset on me that I'm a victim, and, you know, that I'm not equal and all of that. So, Billy, how you feel about Black History Month?
Oh, I got some strong opinions on Black History Month, man. No, honestly, like, I think you guys are nailing it right on the head. Like,
Billy's like, y'all trying to get me fired?
Billy, like, oh, you gonna ask me on live how I feel about Black History Month, huh?
Billy's like, no, ask me about the mask mandates, and I got some 2 cents.
No, we not. Oh my goodness, we not getting on that. Billy, boy, he be go. How you feel about the Super Bowl, Billy? That's what I want to know.
I honestly don't know. I'm not exaggerating how any of you can watch the Super Bowl without being sick to your stomach with anger. I really don't.
No, I'm not gonna lie. Was I sick to my stomach over anger? I can't say I was sick to my stomach because I was too busy sea walking, you know, but I will say, because the halftime show was dope. I mean, I still like Bruno Mars stuff a little bit better. Well, I don't want to say better, but it was dope. But no, to Billy's point, I think that deserves a discussion. I mean, when you have all of your leaders, or a lot of your leaders in the United States of America, gathered together at a football game where there's 70,000 plus fans, and everybody's socializing, no social distancing, no mask,
up in their VIP boxes, you red Solo cupping, and then your kids are going to school the next day wearing masks.
This is why Billy needs the camera, because you should see.
I'm upset at myself for watching even the halftime show. Like, it's incredible. It feels like they're like, you know what? They'll forget about everything we're doing to them. Let's just let them watch a Super Bowl. Bread and circuses. Bread and circuses.
Bro, let me show y'all Billy's anger right now. If y'all can see that, bro.
I can't, but I can only imagine, like, because he was serious in the group text. So for those of you who don't know, we're all in like a podcast group text, and we talk weekly. We talk pretty often. And we were talking because, as you may know, we didn't record during our normal time. So we're trying to figure out when we were going to record. We're figuring out schedules. And Billy started going in about the Super Bowl. And it makes sense. It makes sense. But if there's anything that this in the past few years should have taught us, or that we should have learned from that, is money makes this world go round. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm definitely not saying that I agree with it, but money speaks every language. It makes the world go round. There are two things that will decide this country, decide the state, decide the city you live in, the municipality, and it's money and power. And power is votes, political gain, all of that. And those normally go hand in hand.
Well, it's true. And, you know, what angers me is not only that, but when we talk about, we're coming up on midterm elections, and there's been so much rhetoric that's changing now. Like all the stuff that people have been saying for ages, everybody's actually doing a complete 180 and saying the exact opposite. Oh, you know, we can do this. Oh, we can do that. And so it's like, well, which point is it? I mean, which one is it? Do we go out with masks? Do we not? Do we social distance? Do we not? But yet we're still, and this is what's even more crazy. And so in California, they're lifting the mask mandate, which is what everybody's been wanting forever.
For real? I thought y'all was in like a state of emergency or something.
I know. So let's get this. They're lifting the mask mandate, and Billy came off of mute because he's getting ready to say something. So they came off the mask mandate.
We are in a state of emergency. Yeah. And even during the Super Bowl, we are in a state of emergency.
Yeah, that's true. So now he puts himself back on
per the governor.
So we're lifting the mask mandate, but guess what city is not lifting the mask mandate? LA. But guess whose mayor was at the Super Bowl, not socially distanced, without a mask on, holding his breath? The mayor of LA. So that's what I'm saying, is like there's so much hypocrisy going on that's right in front of our eyes for so many different reasons. So it's, which one is it? And so there's people on here. I remember I had somebody send me a long email about, oh, well, science says this and science says, trust me, I've been personally affected by COVID. Like I've had an important member of my family that died of COVID-19. So I wasn't saying that COVID-19 is not real. But what I'm saying is when you see hypocrisy by our leaders of the United States, when you see enforcing mandates on people and not going by the same mandates, and we've been seeing this since the beginning of the pandemic, that's where I have a problem, and that's where I have an issue when you condemn others. Here's the other thing. The last thing I'll bring up is that they're talking about, I saw talk about them lifting mandates for vaccines. So what about all the people that were forced out of their jobs because they refused to get the vaccine? Are we going to give them their jobs back now? Or are we just going to let them, you know, sit on the sideline now because they've already lost their job and so they now can't go back now that we've reversed the mandate for vaccines? So I just get bothered by the way, and I'm not trying to make this political, but it bothers me because there's so much hypocrisy going on that's right in front of our face by people that are supposed to be leading us in the right direction. And I don't think that's what they're doing for us.
You know what I thought was like real crazy? And I'm just put this out there. I hope nobody hate me for this, but you know, I'm gonna speak my truth. All right. Was the owners of apartment complexes and rental properties that had to financially bite the bullet for their renters. Like there was no legal obligation for renters to pay their rent for months, and they couldn't evict them. So like if I own, and this is why I say it was crazy, because, you know, Ryan, you know, Billy, we all have businesses that we've worked hard for, and you know, we earn income for our families and our loved ones. And it's difficult. Like this is just something you can just wake up and do, right? Like there's a lot that goes into like running your own business.
Yeah, it's not like being a politician where you can just show up and do nothing.
Billy Riley, I love it. Billy is on it. But you know, I always put myself in other people's shoes. So I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, say I worked hard. Like my dream was to own an apartment complex, and I've got 20 units in this really nice apartment complex. It's my life's work. For whatever reasons, people lose their jobs or they just don't want to go to work, a combination of which, you know, we don't know. But we do know that now 80% of my tenants are not able to or not willing to pay me rent. Now, I cannot legally evict them and get someone into my unit to pay rent to financially support the business that I worked hard. That was just a crazy concept to me. And I think it just recently got lifted. Don't quote me on that. But I mean, this went on for months.
Yeah.
So we're talking, imagine if you own a couple buildings. And I already know people are going to say, like, well, if you own a couple buildings, you can get by. That's not the truth. That's not the truth at all. Like, part of building wealth is investing. So, like, if you invest 80% of the money that you have into this business, and then people don't pay, you're at a loss. Like, you just can't be like, oh, I got a business, I'm wealthy. Like, that's
Yeah,
not,
no.
that's not how it works. But I get what they were trying to do. Like, I get that they were trying to help people, but at the same time, like, you're helping people by hurting people, and
Well,
it's kind of like one of these.
and it's been a misappropriation with a lot of the money that's been distributed. So not only did we create more money, which created more inflation, but the places we put that money were in places where we didn't really need it. I saw a video recently where there's this homeless guy here in LA, and he talks about, or maybe it's up north. I should get it and play it. But anyways, he talks about how he loves being homeless because he's like, shoot, I get free money out here. He was like, why would I go and get a job when people give me, $400 a day or whatever, plus I get whatever benefits I get with my EBT or whatever on a monthly basis. He was like, why would I go and get a job? And it's like, it's kind of crazy. It's like, wow, that's the mentality of people out here when we just keep giving them money without investing money in our kids' education. Man, and it's so what's even more crazy is in the education system, at least out here, I don't know what's going on a national basis, but at least out here, they're pulling directors. So, and you realize a director is somebody who's working at the top of the school district. Their job is no longer in the classrooms, no longer at the schools. They're the ones that make the decisions for the school districts. They're pulling directors out of their offices and getting them in the classes to sub because they don't have teachers that want to work right now for multiple reasons. So on top of that, you have teachers that aren't showing up to work. Then you have teachers that can't show up to work for whatever medical reasons. You have teachers that are playing the system, but you also have kids that are not showing up to class because they don't want to go to class where there's going to be a substitute teacher and they're not going to learn anything. So you have over 200 absences a day just in these schools because kids aren't showing up. Well, where do schools get their funding from? Schools get funding from the butts that are in the seats. When you have kids that aren't in the seats of the classroom, that school is now losing the funding that it needs for to continue to grow. So there's so many deeper problems and deep layers to this whole shutting down the country and everything. Not to say that part of it wasn't okay or part of it wasn't good, but it just goes to say that the leaders that are supposed to be making these decisions and telling us to put on a mask and telling us to social distance and telling us to stay at home, they're not doing it themselves. And the only ones that are truly suffering from this are the ones like us that have kids, that need to get kids to school, that need to go out and work and keep them home. And those are the things that upsets me, is because it's like, man, like, what's your purpose of being in office in? Are you just a political pawn, or are you doing this because you truly care about the people? So I didn't mean to make this super political today, but I mean, that's kind of what was on my mind a little bit. That, I haven't talked to you in a while either. So I haven't talked to you since last week. So
yeah, sometimes we just got to catch up, man. And I'm sure y'all have heard about this, but what happens in Cali normally travels across the nation, because y'all stories is almost with Florida. Like, there's Florida, man, and then there's Cali news. Like, it's a close second. But I heard that like either a mayor or a governor recommended that people open up their doors to homeless people, and then a woman got her throat slit by a homeless man that she let into a shower.
So much for that idea.
Did y'all hear about this?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Billy, did you hear about this?
I did not hear about that.
Let me look it up then, so I don't misquote.
Yeah, look it up.
Bad information.
While you do that, I'm gonna answer Eric's question real quick, and then I want to go. Billy, were you able to get that video?
I'm trying to right now.
Okay,
the post you sent me was deleted, so I'm getting it off Twitter.
Oh, okay, cool. I can send you another one if you need me to. Eric said, how did you guys advise me to go about developing a ride-along program for my PD? I truly believe ride-alongs can really make an extraordinary dent in the narrative against police. Eric, I think that's a great idea, and I truly believe that ride-along programs are phenomenal when it comes to educating people on what law enforcement officers do. So what I would advise you is to reach out to some of your neighboring agencies, see if they already have ride-along programs in place. If they do, see what their policies are, see how they do it. I would go out there to a couple of them, see how they operate, and then basically take from what they already have and create it for your department, and then pitch it to the chief or whoever's in charge. I think there's value in doing it, but you also have to have a plan to do it the right way. But there is tremendous value in going on a ride along, just because in that, however long you go out there, whether it's 30 minutes, whether it's 2 hours, or whether it's 6 hours, you're going to learn so much just by being in that car and learning from that police officer. So I think there's value in that.
It was Utah. It was in Utah. It was I just got a text Salt Lake City. So it wasn't Cali. And I don't know where that information about the governor and mayor said that you should let homeless people in. Maybe that was like added to effect for the story that was told me. But that did happen in Salt Lake City. A woman let a homeless man in to bathe, and then she got her throat slit. So
so much for that program.
Well, I don't know if it was a program. I just
Yeah.
heard that it might have been. I don't know. I don't really got the energy to like dive deep into it. I'm sure somebody would hit me up and be like, "Oh, it was this."
Sue said the guy that was interviewed in an LA homeless encampment received a free cell phone and as Wi-Fi access receives a little over $600 a month and $200 in food stamps.
They say the homeless, on average, and this was probably like 10, 15 years ago when I looked this up. On average, the average panhandler, and this is Midwest, makes $30,000 a year untaxed.
Yeah. So there's a guy in my
That's
city.
about what I make.
Yeah, right. EJ, if you guys ain't seen AJ's palace that he lives in, y'all need to go look it up.
Yeah, all right.
I'm over here living out my car.
Yeah.
There's a guy in my city who has a wheelchair and he goes out and panhandles all the time.
Mhm.
And that dude one weekend made like, or one day made like $400 in like 5 hours. I'm like, I started adding up my own funds. I was like, shoot, this fool made more than me in 1 hour. So it's just, and they do, and this guy's aggressive too. Like he's one of those guys that if you don't give money, he's gonna cuss you out, call you everything in the book.
Aggressive.
I'm thinking like, man, imagine if you go out there and yeah, he's aggressive panhandle. Imagine if you go out there with the googly eyes and just all shriveled up, like, can you please, man, you probably make a killing out here. Then don't throw a baby into the equation. You throw a baby into the equation, bro, you out there really paid.
So I got just two stories, just really quick.
I say that too, not trying to be like battery, but people you take the babies.
Somebody
all
gonna be
the time,
mad about that. All right,
people are like, oh, I'm counseling you, Ryan. You threw the babies in there.
Two really quick stories. We so far off topic right now, but I gotta share these stories. The first one,
this was not the topic actually that we're about to talk
catch
about.
up sometimes though. Hey, the first one I was probably like 20, 21 or something like that. I don't know if I told you this story where I got the homeless dude a sandwich outside of CVS. Hey, all right, anyway, I'm going to CVS. This dude's like, hey, can I get some money? I'm like, man, I ain't got no money. And he's like, all right, whatever. So I go in CVS, buy what I was buying. I come out. He's like, hey, you got my money yet? And I'm like, bro, like, hold on, what? So I get in the car. There was a Rally's across the street. So I go to Rally's. I get him like a big Buford. And I come back. I think y'all got Racks as we got Rally's. Or Checkers. Y'all got Checkers, one or something like that. But anyway, I come back and I give him a sandwich. And he cussed me out. He's like, I said I wanted some money, not a sandwich. It was like literally going in on me. And I was just like, yo, what is happening right now? Like, this man is going ham on me. So then the second story that I have hold on, where was I going with the second story? I was about to tell another story that led into something else. I forgot. You got to ignore me. I'm tired today, man. It's been
it's good. He's too busy dancing with them old people at the old people home.
Bro, hey, listen, so Jones went with me, right? There's a video. Let me read this text. I'm gonna put Jones on blast on the podcast. Jones said, bro, I was so exhausted last night. I legit fell on the floor talking to my wife. LOL. They was going in on us.
Well, guys, I know we've been catching up. You guys got to forgive us. But before we move on to the actual subject and topic of the day, make sure y'all go ahead and hit that like and make sure y'all give us good reviews. We try to bump up in the, I got to get out of living in my car to living on AJ status. So
his car is a Maybach. Don't let him lie to y'all.
Yeah, right. So what I want to do, this is actually going to be kind of unique. There is a video that literally started going viral today. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to talk about it as it's going viral. And I thought it was good just because it stimulates conversation. So just a little bit of context is there's not a lot of context to this video. So let's preface it with that. But what has been shown is there are two subjects in a mall fighting. It's a black guy and a white guy. As they're fighting, everybody starts getting all hyped up. The police officers run over to where they're at. And you have one police officer goes and tackles the male, starts put him in handcuffs. The female starts to grab the white guy, and then she goes straight to help her partner out. They put the black guy in handcuffs, and then they just leave the white guy there to sit on the side while they conduct the investigation. So I gave you context if you're listening to this in your vehicle. What we're going to do now is we're going to play that video. We're going to have a quick discussion about it and talk about whether or not right, wrong, indifferent, or should we wait for the rest of the news to come out? Billy, go ahead and cue the video.
And now this is recorded off of Twitter, so apologize for the jank editing here.
You are something else, Billy.
Right now.
Kids arguing in the mall.
He got bowl cut.
Yeah, you got the.
Oh, they're swinging.
Go ahead.
Oh, they're throwing. Oh,
There we go. We're getting canceled now.
Yeah, I'm turning it down.
No, we're
they
Do you guys want to talk
back.
through what's happening if they're listening?
so they can go on to YouTube and watch it.
Yeah, the kids are like duking it out in the mall.
Duking it out. I ain't heard duking it out in a minute.
Scuffling.
So they're taking him into custody now, and then you can see they handcuff the black guy. Here's the interesting part though. Let's just wait for a couple of seconds. So they let the guy just sit there as they handcuff this black guy.
Dude, hey, buddy's standing up like, so
Yeah, so y'all just gonna leave me here?
I'm good to go?
So what? Now it cuts off right there.
That's where it cuts.
It literally cuts off. The original version, the one that Sean, all of them posted, it cuts off at the very end where she goes to grab this kid. So AJ, tell me your first take. Huh?
No, we don't know what happens.
We don't know. We don't know what happens
after
after
the original video.
So everybody is, just to kind of give you guys a little reason why this video is going viral. It's going viral because everybody's saying that they mistreated the black guy. They went and handcuffed him automatically. There was implicit or explicit biases that are clearly shown, and yada yada yada. And so that's why it's gone viral. AJ, what are your thoughts? And then I'll give you guys my thoughts. Go ahead.
I mean, there may be bias, but like the thing, like why they went to him first. But the thing, like when we don't know that, okay. But the second thing is like the video legit cuts off as the female officer is walking up to the other guy. So it's like,
no, I know. So
this is going viral right now. Who shared this?
Sean King showed it, and then I saw DL Hughley who's like, he was in his comment section. Hey,
well, he likes Sean King Jr. at this point.
So. Oh yeah, bro. Yeah, DL Hughley's like, hey, bro, can you do me a favor? Can you DM that video? I'm trying to repost it. Nah. But anyways, here's my 2 cents. Does it look bad? Yeah, but it's optics. I talk about optics all the time. From an optics standpoint, yeah, it looks bad. I mean, you got cops that are handcuffing a black guy, and then they go straight to they go straight to him and leave the other white guy alone. So from a tactical standpoint, it ain't the best tactics. And the reason I say from a tactical standpoint is because, I mean, you're allowing the other aggressor in the fight to just kind of do what he does right behind you as you're dealing with one person. So from a tactical standpoint, that was effed up. But Billy actually brought something to mind that actually was a lot of truth to it. And one of the reasons why, I started formulating my opinion was, does it have anything to do with the fact that the officer that took the black guy into custody was a male and the other officer was a female? And I was like, it absolutely does, because what people don't realize is typically male officers and female officers will handle the use of force differently from time to time. It just is what it is. A lot of times you'll see males that are more confident in their abilities just simply because they're bigger. So they're more apt to go hands-on. So when she sees this guy, the white guy is kind of bigger than her, and then she also sees her partner on top of this guy trying to take him into custody. So in her mind, it's very easy to see why she would go over there to try to help him out, as opposed to just staying with the dude. Now, from a tactical standpoint, is that the best move? Probably not. She probably should have stayed with old boy, gave him commands. Hey, if you're going to go hands-on, handcuff him. But, I've been to scenes like this before, and typically how I've handled them is either A, we separate parties and we don't handcuff anybody because it's a fight, or B, we handcuff both parties, we separate them, and just it go is what it is. Why she had to go help her partner out, I don't know why. But to say that this was racial, I've said this before and I'll say it again. You can't determine if a situation is racially biased until you know things about that officer specifically. Things like, what is their track record in dealing with people of a minority? What is their track record? Do they have complaints? Have they been accused of racial stuff before? What's their personal life like? Do they have prejudices against people? Those are things that you would need to know in order to know if something is racially motivated. Could these officers be racist? They could. I mean, anything is possible. But to say that they were racist based off of a 60-second video, that's hard to do. We can't go based off of the 60 seconds. And then the last part, going back to AJ's point, is that at the end of the video, she goes back to that guy and it cuts off. And so what's interesting to me is the person that put this video out there was one of those teenagers or whoever it was. That's how we got this video in the first place. So the mere fact that somebody got this video and chose to stop it at that point in time, that kind of raises my hair a little bit, because it's like, well, why did you stop it right then and there? I know the camera probably stayed on. I know it didn't end right at that moment in time. So why did we cut it at that point in time? I highly doubt that this individual did not stay unhandcuffed. I highly doubt that. As a matter of fact, he probably got arrested or at least cited out at the scene. But I highly doubt that it ended the way that the video ends. And so that's why I always say you need to have more context.
Yeah, I'm trying to read up on this just to see like who was arrested, who was charged. But there's just a lot about him being handcuffed. So it sounds like
literally it just came out.
I know, and like literally everything is just saying about him being handcuffed. Like, no, I can't find anything about the outcome, about if the other kid was handcuffed, who was let's see, BridgewaterPD.com. All right, let's see. All right. I'm gonna look that up.
Where's
but
Bridgewater at?
New Jersey. But it sounds like we're arguing, like at this point, we're arguing about who was handcuffed first. I could see if they let the white kid like stomp on the black kid while they was like handcuffing him or something like that. But I mean, this is pushing it. It's something that I am always cautious of when I'm watching videos or even like listening to audio clips is when it starts and when it stops. When you see a video, you always have to ask, like, okay, why did this video start here? Why did this video stop here? Because we live in a time where people tend to start videos when they want you to see things. They don't want you to see what led up to that point. And we also live in a time where people stop videos because they don't want you to see certain things. So you just have to be aware when you watch videos like this.
Yeah, but it's oh man, it bugs me so much because we add fuel to this fire for no reason. I mean, yeah, it looks bad on face value, but there's so many things in life that look bad on face value without knowing context. And there's also, I'm gonna transition here. Did you see the video this week? I'm actually doing some posts on it here pretty soon in Phoenix, where the officers responded to, it seems like a homicide a homicide scene. And when they approach, they get ambushed and shot, and they shoot the guy shoots 9 officers. Did you see that?
I heard about it. I did not see the clip.
Bruh. So the officers they had a legitimate reason to be there. They respond to the location as they get there. As they get to the location, the first initial officer on scene gets shot by this guy. So the officer gets shot. He's able to flee to cover. His secondary partner gets there, and now they surround the house and they start going into a surrounding call out, waiting to get this guy out. Inside the house, there's a female victim, a child suspect, and the female's victim's brother. So there's 4 individuals in this house. So they get there, and at some point in time, the female victim's brother comes out, brings the baby out, puts the baby on the doorstep, and then surrenders himself over to police. Well, as that happens, the officers try to go up and get the baby from the doorstep because the baby's outside and the little baby carrier and stuff. As they approach, the suspect inside the house sends a parade of gunfire at their way. Like, he just starts shooting at all of them, shoots 9 officers. And so, officers dealt with the situation. The guy ends up killing himself inside the house. He already killed the female half involved. But what had me upset, this is what had me upset. Somebody on Instagram, they made a post about this. And the post was like this. It says, the media got Friday's headline wrong. So the initial headline, this is just one of many headlines, was man and woman dead, 9 officers hurt after Phoenix ambush. That was the original headline, right? Totally fine. This person was saying that the police got, or the media got the headline wrong. They're saying the headline should have been black man and woman dead, infant nearly killed by police, 9 officers hurt after Phoenix police ambush man during mental health crisis call. That's what they said the headline should have been. Then they go on and say all this other stuff about how the officers failed to de-escalate. The officers didn't do this. They didn't do that. But they underlined this at the very end. Every encounter with the Phoenix police is a potential death sentence. So I'm like, how did we just spin up this whole
what?
Yeah, they just spun up this whole idea that the police were wrong. They failed to de-escalate, which if you're not familiar with the surrounding call out, A surrounding call out is a de-escalatory tactic that officers use in order to call people out of a house so they don't have to create exigent circumstances like utilizing deadly force by going into a house serving a warrant. That's what a surrounding call out is. You surround the place, you make multiple phone calls, you get on a PA, you call people out for hours upon hours upon hours. Back in the day, officers didn't necessarily do that. They go in the house, they say, y'all ready? You ready? You ready? Cool, let's go in.
Mm-hmm.
So doing surrounding callouts is a de-escalatory tactic that they use. The mere fact that this person that created this post tried to say that they didn't use any de-escalatory tactics was wrong. The other thing that this person was saying, which was a big one, this was the first paragraph. As a Black woman living in South Phoenix, knowing how incompetent police are at de-escalating situation, especially if there's a mental health issue, we knew instantly as the story unfolded that this man would die that night. So we began to pray for the people in that house. How do we know that this was a mental health situation? We don't even know that. That officer on scene didn't know that this was going to be mentally health related. We still don't know whether or not it's mentally health related. To give you a little bit of context about the suspect that fired on the officers, he's a notable criminal street gang member with the Crips. Notable. He also has been arrested multiple times for gun or weapons violations as well as drug violations. Could it have been a mental health crisis? It could have, but let's not negate the fact that this guy has a criminal history and has shown a propensity for violence towards others. So the mere fact that people are creating these false narratives is really crazy, and that's what's really fueling the fire that we live in today. And that's what, and I think a lot of people are doing it just for the engagement. This is what that person that made that post says. This is what their bio says. We must decarcerate and divest from the criminal injustice system. We need people and resources in our communities, not in prisons, which I'll tell you guys, and I'll say it again, I have a lot of friends, already being one of them, and I'm doing a lot of work with people in prisons now. I have a heart for people in prison because I do want to see them get back on their feet. But to say that we need to divest and defund people like the police or abolish the police is completely wrong. And you do it by trying to create narratives like that.
People kill me making statements like, you know, any interaction you have with the police is a deadly interaction and could quickly turn it. Like, let me throw a number at you really quick. 1,055. Let me throw another number at you. 38,000. Which one of those numbers is drastically larger than the other? 38,000, right?
Of course.
Let me tell you what those numbers are. So in 2020, I think there were 1,055 people roughly that were killed by police. On average, more than 38,000 people die in car accidents. But you know what you don't hear people saying? Man, you get in that car, man, that's you just waiting to die, man. You know, these cars out here killing people left and right. Like, you don't hear that. You don't see like these posts, and you don't see people going out of their way to talk about like car crashes and all of that. And it just shows that this is an agenda, right? And I know what someone's going to say is cars aren't going out and killing people. That's a whole other conversation. But if you want to tie it into this conversation in short, neither are police officers. And I can confidently say that. I have seen not many, if any, videos of police officers who have just gone out, started their day and go, I'm going to kill somebody with the intent, I am going to kill this person. I have seen videos where officers have taken someone's life and I'm like, they probably shouldn't have done that. Not knowing all the details, but they probably shouldn't have done that. In my heart, do I believe that their intent was to kill that person? No. I think that they were either poorly trained, they were jacked up on adrenaline, they had poor training. There was something else that went into that. So if your argument is, well, cars aren't going out and killing people, my rebuttal to that is, well, neither are police officers. I don't think police officers are just going out like, I'm going to kill somebody, especially in today's society. Like, we've seen officers get prosecuted. We've seen videos go viral that have erupted anger and rage worldwide. So what police officer in their right mind would go out here and go, I'm going to kill somebody?
Yeah.
Well, I don't see it happening.
Well, you inspired me. So the last episode we did, you talked about the drug numbers, the overdose numbers. So after that podcast, I went out on my own And I looked it up. So do you know from 2017 to 2022, the amount of people that are actually killed by police was 5,011? So think about that. We're talking about 2017 all the way to 2022. You had 5,011 people killed by police.
Mm-hmm.
That's not including, I mean, and that includes people that would arguably have been unjustifiably killed by police, which is less than 1%. Yeah. So less than 1% of that 5,000 people, that's less than 1%. So people would make the argument, well, one person is too much, which I would agree with. One person that's unjustifiably killed by police is too much. But if you're looking at that in retrospect, I looked up the same numbers for opioid overdoses in 2021. No, it was 2021. It was over 100,000 people that died from drug overdoses in 2021. Why is that interesting? Because our kids are more likely to die by a drug overdose than they are by being killed by police. And mind you, people that are unjustifiably killed by police is less than 1%. So back to AJ's point, we put so much energy into this idea that police are out there gunning us down, or like that lady said, if you are if you're in Arizona or Phoenix or whatever, the Phoenix police are what? Let me because I don't want to butcher this quote because it's important. She said every encounter with Phoenix police is a potential death sentence. When you shape that type of narrative, how are people supposed to feel? Like police officers are legitimately out to kill you. If they pull you over for a traffic violation, they're out to kill you. If they pull you over at a park because they want to say what's up, no, they're really out to kill you. That's the type of narrative that people push when they say stuff like that, while negating while we're negating the facts that our children are more likely to die because they pick up a vape pen in high school, and then after they pick up the vape pen, they're like, you know what, let me try something else. So then they pick up alcohol, then they go ahead and start to drink a little bit, then they're like, you know what, this isn't hard enough, let me go ahead and pick up something else. So then they start using Xanax. They like the Xanax for a little bit, but then after the Xanax, they're like, you know what, let's do something else. So then they pick up another drug, not realizing that it's laced with fentanyl. They take that fentanyl, a piece of fentanyl, and now they overdose. Your kid is more likely to go down that path than they are of the path of getting pulled over by police and unlawfully or unjustifiably killed by police. That's what the narrative should be. The narrative should be this increasing pattern that our kids, our youth are going through for this these drugs, these gateway drugs, and that they're more likely to abuse that than they are to be abused by police.
And for anyone who is still questioning if there is an agenda or if there is not an agenda, I'll go back to these numbers, right? So 38,000 people on average die from car accidents in 2020. A rough number of 1,055 people were killed by police officers. What do we see that is different between these two? When people start dying from car accidents, what is the solution to that? We need to make cars safer. We need to invest money into Ford, into Chevy, into GM. We need faster airbags. We need anti-lock braking systems. We need faster reaction time. We need heads-up dashboard, backup sensors. We need turn signal that'll vibrate your steering wheel if there's a car coming up on your right. We need all of these technologically sound things that make cars safer. But on the opposite end, when we talk about police officers who kill a fraction of the amount of people, justifiably or not, we hear defund the police. Let's get rid of the police. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Let me address. I'm gonna come back to your question, Brian Harris, because I think that's one for AJ that he can answer. But I want to really quickly address Anthony 3G's comment. He said, Ryan, those numbers you quoted were misleading. Between 4,000 and 5,000 law enforcement departments, according to total FBI, according to the FBI, I think it's slightly misleading. And so, okay, I'm glad you, Anthony, go up and look stuff up, because that's what we need. I tell people all the time, let's make sure that we go out there and do our own research. Well, let's say what you're saying is true, Anthony, that let's say that they did leave out 4,000 to 5,000 law enforcement departments. One, we can't account for how big those departments are. I can guarantee they're probably not as big as some of your biggest departments like Ohio, LA, and all the other stuff. Two, just going based off the numbers that I gave, think about that. That's 5,011 killings by police from 2017 to 2022. I can almost guarantee you that if you had those 4,000 to 5,000 law enforcement departments, that number is not going to jump that much, especially when less than 1% of them were unjustifiably killed by police. So if we're just looking at the mere ratios as to how many people are actually unjustifiably being killed by police, it's still a lot less than what people are dying from other things. Now, I will say sometimes people will say, well, you're sidestepping the reality. You're sidestepping issues within law enforcement. No, I'm not sidestepping, because if I was sidestepping, then I wouldn't be out there really trying to actively bridge the gap between law enforcement. If I was sidestepping, I wouldn't be calling out officer misconduct. I call it out all the time. So I'm not sidestepping it, but what I'm saying is we have to pay close attention to what we're more likely to die from, what's more likely to harm us, as opposed to rebuilding these better relationships between law enforcement and the community. Think about what we have to ask ourselves the question: what would we want in a perfect world? Would we want animosity and hostility between law enforcement and the community? Because I think for some, the reality is that they want that. They like that. They thrive on that. I mean, I just mentioned 2 people today that posted that video up. They thrive on police officer animosity between the community and the Black community. And so in a perfect world for me, I would love to see law enforcement get along with the people that they serve side by side. And so if that's what we want, we should be aiming our rhetoric towards how do we make that better, as opposed to we need to stop being gunned down by police because, you know, you're unsafe going in Phoenix and all this other stuff. That's all I'm trying to say when it comes to when we're addressing some of those numbers and facts. So I appreciate you, Anthony, for looking that up. Thank you, brother, because a lot of people should do more of that research. But I had to throw that 2 cents in there just because it's still, if you really look at it in retrospect, I mean, less than 1%. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal if you ask me. Go ahead, AJ.
So I'm going to read all 3 of these comments from my guy, Brian Harris. Hopefully you're still here, and I'm going to address them. So let me read them first. The first comment is, are there any racist officers in America who would hurt people of color? I've heard many officers here in Columbus complain about a system of racism that exists within the force itself. And then the following question, or the following comment is, cars aren't selective or biased in choosing their victim. And then like a little laughy emoji. And then he says, or type of victim, AJ. Let me tell you a story. All right. And I'm very aware of what you're saying. The very first time that I went to Harvard to speak, I made a mistake in reference. I compared police officers' jobs to a McDonald's employee. And I've shared this on previous podcasts. And what I said was, I think you're more than likely to come across a racist fast food employee than a racist police officer. And how many times have you gone to McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's or a fast food chain and you ordered a sandwich and they got your sandwich wrong and you've drove away and have you ever thought to yourself, well, they messed my meal up because I'm Black, or they messed my meal up because I'm a female, they messed my meal up because I'm Hispanic? I would say that very rarely happens in comparison to how many times people have interactions or don't have any interactions with law enforcement, but automatically assume that law enforcement or that interaction was or is racist. So let me answer your questions, and I'll tell you why I share that story. There are definitely racist police officers. I 1000% stand by my comment here today as a man of color, as a police officer, as someone who travels the country speaking to police officers and community members, as someone who travels the world speaking to police officers and community members. I can stand here today and say that I firmly and truly believe in my heart that law enforcement in America is probably one of the least racist professions we have. And here's what I'm basing that off of, okay? Because we can't have a number. Like, we can't come up with a number like, well, 50% of people are racist in this profession. 60% of people are racist in this profession. Because no one's going to tell the truth, right? So I'll tell you what I'm basing that statement off of. What other profession in America do you have to go through a polygraph test, a background investigation where they talk to your neighbors, a psychology test, stress test, physical, the requirement to even be considered a candidate to become a police officer far exceeds any other profession aside from the military. And then most police officers, when you're on the force, you still have a probationary period where you're being examined by not specialists, but like field training officers, supervisors, and whatnot. And then when you make it off of that, you're a police officer. You're normally protected by the union, which that's a whole other conversation that people normally want to dive into. So to answer your question, absolutely, there are people out there who want to hurt people because of their color, because of where they're from, because of their sex, because of their sexual orientation. But my argument is that number is so small in comparison. Let me go on a little bit further. I understand that is what we're talking about now. And let me break that down. I had a conversation with a really good mentor of mine, and I was so frustrated with him because he wanted to talk about racist police officers. There's racist police officers. You agree with me that there are racist police officers. And my rebuttal to that was, do you know how many people die from medical malpractice a year? It's 250,000 people. Do you ever think that there are doctors out there who are killing people because of their black? Do you ever go to McDonald's and get your meal messed up and, you know, all of this? And he's like, we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about this. And it made me take a step back and go, you're right. You have the right to talk about this because it's an issue. And me being a police officer and me being a man of color, standing right here, acknowledges that there's an issue. If there's one racist police officer out of the nearly 1 million police officers in the country, that is an issue, right? But in the same breath, you have to question why you are talking about that and not something that is more likely to affect your life. And that is my argument with this. Yep. I'm not afraid to talk about racist police officers. We talk about it on the podcast. I go out of my way to talk and educate community members and police officers. There's a reason why we do the work that we do, and there's a reason why we're recognized this way. But I'm also sound enough to go, well, why? Why is this conversation something that we're having? So let me and I know I'm taking up a lot of time, but I want to get my point across, and I want to cover all my bases because I've had this conversation many of times and I know which avenue people are going to go. One more basis to cover. If Ryan, as a friend of mine, came up to me and said, I'm terrified of tigers, I'd be like, that is a weird fear to have. And he's like, I'm terrified that a tiger is going to kill me. You know, there's going to be out in the wild. He's going to kill me. I would ask Ryan, why is that a fear of yours? Ryan will probably say something. I seen something on the news. I watched National Geographic. I had a tiger jump the fence when I was at the zoo and there was people ducking and dodging. Like, he would have a story that relates to that fear. I don't mess with spiders because I watched the movie Arachnophobia when I was a kid, right? That's why I don't like spiders. A majority of people have a fear for police officers. A majority of people who think that police officers are racist are getting those feelings from what? Other people who are saying things that we are seeing on TV, things that we are listening to on the radio. And that is the reason why I question this conversation. You have to ask yourself, why am I seeing what I'm seeing on social media? Why am I seeing what I'm seeing on the news? Why am I hearing what I'm hearing on the radio when 99.9% of police officers go out and flawlessly do their job every single day?
Yeah. And I'm guilty of that too. I'm guilty of falling into that trap before I was a police officer for not liking cops. Now, don't get me wrong. I had some bad run-ins with law enforcement, but I'm not going to lie. If I'm being transparent, like, I fell into the trap of it's popular not to like police. Like, I mean, you can't go around like, oh man, I love the police. You know what I mean? Especially in the culture. Like, I can't go around the black culture. Oh man, I love cops. Like, it's just not something that we've traditionally done. So right. I love Brian's comment. He says, you're very, very different than the average police officer, AJ. I've seen you personally getting to know people in the community. Not many officers do what you do. One thing I've noticed is that you don't fear people, but others do. And Brian, to your point, you're absolutely right. AJ is different. AJ is covered by God's blood, and he has an anointment on his life to go out and do what he does. But just because you don't see other AJs out there, other people out there like AJ, don't mean they don't exist. I always tell people, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Now, I'm not going to be one of front and say, hey, every police officer is good. Not every police officer is good, but a majority of them are. And then I also say is just because somebody's not similar to you doesn't mean that they're not a good officer. I mean, I think a lot of times people make that they get confused and saying, well, we're different, and this guy doesn't talk like me, he doesn't act like me, he doesn't sound like me, therefore he probably doesn't like me, because no, we can't use that.
Hey, I want to try something really quick, Brian. I'm gonna Brian, will you call me so we can have you on the podcast right now? Can we do that? We got enough time for that, Ryan? Billy?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Billy, you good with that?
Billy's like, you better not mess up this podcast right now.
Brian, you just can't cuss or say nothing crazy. Hit me up on IG right now. Send me a DM, and I'm gonna send you my work number.
And then, so just to address Jamali's question, he said, why would the black people love cops given the history we wouldn't? Honestly, I understand what you're saying with that, but that's where me and AJ come in to change that perception of what people have done or experienced in the past. But at the same time, in the same token, you have to realize, at what point do we draw a line in the sand and say policing is not what it used to be? I know that to be true. I know that to be fact. They're not having me stand with canines out and spraying people down with fire hoses. That don't exist. So, somebody like me who's 34 years old, I can't stand that. I can't have that same argument as somebody like my dad or my grandfather. Like my grandfather, my dad, that might be a legitimate argument because they experienced that. But as a kid that's 34 years old, or a young man that's 34 years old, I haven't necessarily experienced some of the same mistreatment that some of my ancestors were. So we have to, this younger generation, we got to be willing to put that line in the sand. We have to draw that line in the sand. We can't expect it to come from our elders to do that just because they have experienced something that we haven't experienced before. So Jamali, great question, but that's just something that we have to realize. And then last thing, but I don't know, is Brian coming on?
Brian, if you could, I don't know if you got IG or not, but if you could shoot me a DM on my Oh No It's the Popo IG.
If not, what we can do, if we don't do it right now.
He just sent me a message. Boom. I'm about to send him my phone number right now.
Cool. Yeah, so we'll have this quick
discussion. Don't be out here acting crazy, Brian. I don't know. I don't think I know you at least. Don't be out here cussing, getting us in trouble, man.
We're gonna keep it short, but this is gonna be good. And then I gotta get to my son's baseball practice for wifey looking at me crazy. But while we're waiting on Brian to call in, do me a favor, guys. Make sure that you guys give us a like and subscribe if you guys are enjoying this conversation. We truly, truly appreciate this dialogue. This is what helps us all grow. And I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not the end all be all. I don't know everything. I honestly don't know it all. Billy knows everything, but outside of that, we don't know much. And so this is just good conversation that we can have so we can all grow together.
Boom. Just gave my number. He should be calling any minute. No, I love it. And it's the first time we've done something like this. And this is what we want. We want to have conversations like this. We want to learn. We want to educate. That's part of the podcast. That's part of what we do every single day. We put this uniform on. We can agree to disagree and not hate each other, which has really gotten to the norm. He said, "You good?" I'm deleting. I told him, I said, "Don't be sharing my number." He said, "Deleting it." But it's here you go right here. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, sir. First off, I appreciate this. Most
Brian, what's up, man? He probably can't hear me.
Oh yeah, he can't hear you.
Good.
Can you hear Ryan on whatever you were you listening to your phone or were you listening on your computer?
I was on my phone.
You were on your phone? Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to you probably won't be able to hear Ryan. I don't know a way around that, but maybe
I'll just listen and just tell him I thank him for calling in, and I love the dialogue.
He said he thanks you. He loves the dialogue. So first off, man, I appreciate like everything you've been saying, man. Like it's absolutely understandable to have those feelings and to feel the way that you do, and to also be willing to have a conversation, because from what I've experienced, most people are afraid and they shy away from like having these conversations. So something that you said it's not true growing up on East Main Street. So for those of you who don't know, there are parts of East Main Street that are inner city. There are parts of Main Street that have $1 million homes off of them. And you go on to say, as a child in the 90s, I've witnessed both police brutality and criminal baiting. So first and foremost, we've said this on previous podcasts. I'm sorry that you had to experience that. So like on behalf of every single police officer out there, and Ryan just agreed, I'm sorry that you had to experience that. But something that I want you to think of, and maybe you have thought about it, is how many other times have you saw police officers driving down the street at community events, at Red, White, and Boom, which is a big fireworks show here, at the Jazz and Rib Fest, which is a big rib fest here, Summer 614, which is a big concert, and they haven't batted an eye at you. And how do those numbers compare to the times that you've seen criminal baiting and the times that you've seen police brutality?
Right. Now, AJ, To be honest with you, I've experienced more positive police interactions than negative police interactions. So I'm not one that, you know, is against police. I understand you guys have, you guys have one of the most important duties, you know, in society, to be honest with you. However, like I said, growing up on East Main Street back in the 90s, it was significantly rougher than what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there have been instances to where I have seen, you know, as a child, 8, 9 years old, you know, just guys just getting the crap beat out of them for no reason.
Right. Absolutely.
And you know, they, you know, they're like baited into being arrested. You know, a cop will get in their face, and then as soon as they, you know, look, they flinch. You know, they're taking them down, putting them in the back of the squad car,
right.
taking them to jail. You know, I've seen that, you know, multiple times. You know, as a young man, when I played football at East High School, it even happened to me one time. I've grown up with a healthy level of skepticism toward some individuals, and you know, I think it's not hard to recognize those individuals. They're either overachieving black officers who want to make an impression and, you know, gain the respect of their fellow officers, or B, you know, an uneducated officer from a different area who's not familiar with the culture of the people that they're policing.
Right. And
I noticed that has been probably one of the major issues when it comes to over aggressive officers. Is you know, you'll have an officer from Lancaster, Ohio, who already has bias about the inner city in Columbus, and they can't really shake that bias, so they're nervous and don't really know how to begin interacting with the locals in that area.
Yeah, and
that's one thing that you know, like you're a recognizable face in the area and the community, and I respect what you do,
and I respect
how you police, because not only do you police, you know, you enforce the law, but you also encourage and influence people to do the right thing.
Yep.
And you know, you interact with them. You know, like I seen you at a South High School football game earlier this year.
Oh yeah.
And you were laughing with the kids and you know, just having a good time. And you know, you exhibited, you showed them some of your personality. You know, and it's easy to respect somebody who I kind of feel like I know because they're not afraid to show me who they are.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that more than you will ever know. You know, hearing like words of affirmation like that and like the positivity is what keeps me going. And exactly what you're talking about is a lack of cultural competency. And I'll agree. I've traveled the country speaking with officers about this. I'm pretty sure, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have done the same. Have you put together cultural competency classes, Ryan?
Correct. Yeah.
So Ryan has as well, and it is important. And I just want to let you know, and our listeners as well, know that we are trying, but we have to be in this together. And when you talk about a lack of police officers from the areas in which we grew up, policing in the areas that we grew up, something that we could do on our parts. And when I say we in this example, I mean we as citizens, or we as people from the inner city, is we need to understand that it's okay to be the police. Not only is it okay to be the police, but we should encourage people to be the police, because if we don't want outsiders policing the areas in which we live, then who else is going to police these areas unless we step up and be that change, and not to be cliche, right? So like for me, I was like, I knew it was important. When I decided to become a police officer, I knew it was important because I seen those things as well. I watched my dad beat the dog snot out of my mom, rip the phone cord out the wall, and him not go to jail. And I didn't want to see that in my community anymore. So I had to tell myself, like, it's okay to be the police. Even more so, it's okay to be the police and police in my area. So we have to get away from that stigma as well. Brother, I would love to have you on the podcast next week. Ryan, would you be okay with that?
Yeah, let's do it. And tell him again, man.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm a truck driver, so I stay on the road.
Yeah.
But I say, at very least I can call back in or you can hit me up. You got my number now, so you can give me a call. And while I'm on the road, if I'm in town, I wouldn't mind. But if I'm on the road, then it's definitely a no go. But man, at least a phone call, I'd be more than willing.
Hey, AJ, do me a favor.
Yep.
Tell him that I truly appreciate him.
Okay.
And then tell him to reach out to me on social media, man, because I would love to say contact with him as well.
I think my main thing is I was talking to a politician about you in particular a couple of weeks ago. A guy who's thinking about possibly, well, actually, he's in the governor race. I'm not going to mention any names.
Okay.
But and one thing I did is I made sure that I praised your type of policing over other types of guys who fear people more than respect them.
Yeah.
And when you're in a group of people who, you grew up watching TV, you think these inner city people are just wild, they're animals. You develop those biases.
Absolutely.
Your family, thinks the same way. They grew up historically Republican. That's not all Republicans, but we know
for sure.
So it's important to acclimate yourself culturally to the people, and you can't do that if you ride the cruiser all day long. If the only time you're getting out is to apprehend somebody for something they did wrong. You gotta actively be engaged and involved in your community. And to be honest with you, that's important in more ways than one. Not only are you developing a rapport with your community, people will avoid committing crime because they respect you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
And you develop intelligence as to who might be capable of such certain things. There's all kinds of intelligence involved in that.
Yep.
You get to know your community. If somebody said Ray stole a pair of shoes from something, and you met Ray, you know his mom and dad, you know his parents, you can probably be like, nah, Ray.
That don't sound like Ray, right?
Yeah,
yep.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Well, man,
okay, so when I do approach Ray, what is Ray capable of?
Right.
I met him. He's not very fast. He's a little short and stubby. So you already have a basis of who you're dealing with.
Right. No, you
know what I'm saying? That's why it's important to get out to get out into the community and to meet people, to know the locals.
No, you
know what I'm saying?
You are spot on. I think not to rush this conversation, but I think Ryan has to hop off just because he has obligations. But we are going to connect outside of the podcast as long as that's okay with you. I have your number now. I would love to chop it up.
Tell him I said thank you, man. Tell him I said I tremendously
Ryan said thank you so much. He appreciates the input as well. And then if we could have you on, even if it's a call on or whatever, we would love to. But this is what the solution looks like for all of our listeners, like us having a conversation, me not shying away from it as a police officer, him not shying away from it as a civilian, and growing together. So I appreciate you, brother, more than you ever know. And you have the number if you ever need anything. And I'm gonna shoot you a text as soon as we hop off of here. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, brother. I appreciate you.
All right. Peace.
That was dope.
Man, that was super cool, man. And Brian, thanks for hopping on, man. That means the world. And we'll start bringing more of you guys on. There's actually a feature I think we can do where there's a call-in feature that we can get. So we'll do that. Be like the old radio shows where you call in. But hey, this was great. This was a great episode. I got so much value to this because it wasn't just me, AJ, and Billy talking. We're actually listening to you guys and hearing what you guys think or believe or want to say. So we are not going to end this episode without a one has to go. So go ahead, Billy, go cue it up. I don't know if we have a drum roll, but one has to go. Starbucks, Amazon, Target, or Chick-fil-A, y'all.
Easy one for me.
Let us know what you guys say in the comments box. I know which one I'm getting rid of, but Starbucks, Amazon, Target, or Chick-fil-A. So Billy, we'll start with you. You created it. Whoa.
Amazon.
Amazon. I don't have an Amazon account. And if Amazon went away, then the truck wouldn't be here 3 days a week because my wife be shopping on there. So Amazon got to go.
No, you tripping.
That 2-day delivery is needed.
It's absolutely needed.
Starbucks is going.
Starbucks
I
is
love
definitely
coffee,
going.
but I'm not paying $8 for a latte.
Yeah, Starbucks is definitely going. And I think all
Everybody
of our
in the
fans
comments
agree.
saying Starbucks too.
Starbucks. Here it is, man. Amazon, bro. You can get Amazon. I mean,
AJ should lose his job for saying
he
that.
should, bro.
Yeah,
He should.
he
You know, hey Brian,
Lose my
if you want to
job.
be a new co-host, bro, I like the way you think, bro. So if you want to be, we're opening up a co-host spot, man. So go ahead and feel free to join us. You know, Amazon is one of those things where it's like, bro, if I need something right now, I can get it. I mean, now they flying stuff over with drones now. Target is one of those places where you just get like so, you know, entranced when you walk in there. Like, dang, I walked in here for a toothbrush and walked out with like $100 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
And then Chick-fil-A, bro. I mean, come on, man.
Can't nobody get rid of Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, you know, and Chick-fil-A. I don't know if you like me, but Chick-fil-A just hit differently when you're in the airport. Like you walk in the airport, you find they got Chick-fil-A.
Yeah,
you're like, oh my goodness, they got Chick-fil-A here.
I always fly on weekends though,
so bro. You'll low key miss a flight for Chick-fil-A at the airport, bro. You be standing there looking back, like, oh man, like. I'm supposed to be. They boarding now. They making the final boarding call. You just waiting for that double chicken sandwich. You like, man, this is about to be bomb once I get on this flight right now.
Somebody said Target. They got Starbucks inside. It's a 2-for-1.
Oh man,
I can agree with that too. That's funny.
Oh man. So, but y'all, this was a great podcast. Seriously, we love you guys so much, and you know, we've been going out, man. But when we get to October, I think that's 3 years going with this podcast, and so that's a success in and of itself. We've been doing it every single week. So I don't know if I've let the listeners know, but I guess I'll let them know now. April 7th will be my first day as a part-time police officer and a full-time BBU member. So
let's go.
I am I'm making the transition. I've already told my boss and everybody. So as of now, I've been on this faith walk, and God is really moving in my life. It really got my eyes on really expanding what we got going on. So yeah, so April 7th will be my last full-time day as a police officer. I'll still be out there in some way, shape, or form, but I'm going to be going part-time. So, and that's all thanks to you guys. I'm telling you that because you guys have given me a platform to stand on. You've given AJ a platform to stand on, Billy. And so without the platform that you guys have created, I wouldn't be able to actually make this decision, go out there and try to build it even bigger. So we love you guys. I love you more than you guys realize. I know AJ does. My family does. My wife does. You guys are just tremendous to us. So if you guys need any prayer for anything, please reach out to us, shoot us a DM, shoot us a message or whatever. We will definitely be praying for you guys. We haven't done that. So maybe next go around, next podcast next week, I'll do a prayer for everybody because I know a lot of you guys really appreciate that. So matter of fact, let me do it right now because I don't want to, somebody's probably going through something right now. I don't want to push your prayers to next week. So dear Heavenly Father, we come before you and I just ask, just bless everybody that's tuning into the podcast right now. I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what struggles they're in right now, what adversity they've been hitting, what roadblock, but I just ask that you would open doors that no man can close. I ask that you would continue to give them the peace that they need in their life and allow them to have the endurance that they need to finish the race. So I know we're living in some trying times, whether it's a health issue, whether it's a family issue, whether it's somebody that's just not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Only you know, Lord, but I just ask that you would allow them to turn their eyes and focus on you and just keep their eyes fixated on you as they walk that faith walk that I'm walking right now. So allow them, give them the faith and courage they need to take the first step. And I just ask that you will fill in the rest of the steps so that way it's an easy walk to righteousness. So we love you. We thank you for it in your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Y'all, I appreciate it. We love y'all so much. With that being said, we'll see y'all next week. Peace.